Hello and welcome. Before I begin, I'd like to thank HPE and our local partners with Avexon for giving me the opportunity to talk to you about the great things that we're doing in the city of New Orleans. And before I do that, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the dedicated public safety professionals at the City of New Orleans Real-Time Crime Center for their hard work and dedication each and every day, 24 hours a day, to our public safety mission. We're going to talk about our foundations. The Real-Time Crime Center opened in 2017, November of 2017. What we did then and our various iterations up until the current. When I think of New Orleans, a Tennessee Williams quote comes to mind where he said, "America has but three cities, San Francisco, New York, and New Orleans. Everywhere else is Cleveland." And I think I apologize to anybody from Cleveland, but I think that sums it up very, very carefully and very, very thoughtfully. New Orleans is a place like no other. We're a city of below 400,000 residents, yet we host over 18 million visitors a year. Think about that. We're in a population class of a Wichita, a Tulsa, or an Aurora, Colorado, yet we compete each and every day for world-class special events with places like Atlanta, Miami, Las Vegas, and New York. New Orleans has hosted a record-tying 11 Super Bowls. Only Miami has hosted the same number. The Caesars Superdome has hosted more Super Bowl games than any other NFL stadium in the US. We do it each and every year. We're a tourism-based city. We're internationally known for our culture, for our cuisine, and for our carnival. I see most of you have got your Mardi Gras beads on, so I'm glad to see that. The Real-Time Crime Center is a little bit different here too. Why not? We're the only real-time crime center in the United States that I'm aware of that falls outside of the organizational structure of a police department. We're a standalone entity, the Public Safety Support Services, and that's because the technology that we deploy transcends all of the disciplines of public safety. Emergency management, fire, EMS, obviously law enforcement, police, but also the ancillaries, like public works. We're a city that's below sea level. We depend on surrounded by water, and we depend on a complicated series of pumps to keep the city dry. An afternoon rain shower can sometimes give us more floodwaters in the streets than a tropical cyclone, like a hurricane. So it's very important, and it's a public safety issue to make sure that our first responders can get to the calls and to the people that need us most. We're an incident-based system. So if you imagine our video management system is one island, and the computer-aided dispatch that comes out of the 911 center, the computer-aided dispatch system, where all those calls are coming into the 911 center, you imagine those as two separate islands. We deploy technology as a bridge to connect those islands. What a very complicated piece of software does at its very core is something simple. When there's an incident near one of our cameras, we have about 2,000 of them that feed back in to the Real-Time Crime Center, we get an alert. Our staff doesn't have to remember or even know where those 2,000 cameras are. When there's an incident near one of those cameras, we get an alert, and the software will bring up the cameras and present them to our staff. So we know which cameras to watch when based on the incidents. All of the technology that we deploy is overt in nature. Most of them have flashing red and blue lights. And we provide that information to the responders in the field in real time, hence our name. When we make the response more informed, We can take a response based on the information that we're gathering from the cameras on the ground, and we can speed that response up, or perhaps slow that response down if it's not as significant as once thought, to keep our responders safer. When first responders are safer, so is the public. We base our system on efficiency and effectiveness. We're a tool in the officer's tool belt, and our job is to be the artificial force multiplier to stretch the police officers that we do have, get more out of them, and make their jobs easier and more efficient and more effective. If we can provide video to those responders that they would have to obtain somewhere else and save them time of knocking on doors, of talking to business owners, of emailing video footage to themselves or to someone else. All of that time that we saved since we opened in aggregate is over 55,000 man hours. That 55,000 man hours is something we're very proud of. What we're more proud of is the sum of those parts. And I would present to you that the sum of those parts is more important than the whole. Everybody's seen the first 48, right? What's an hour to a homicide detective? What's 20 minutes when you're looking for a lost child? What's 90 seconds if you can get an ambulance to a cardiac arrest patient just a little bit sooner during a major special event? It's when the seconds count and the moments matter is where we're making a difference. So how do we come into existence? In 2017, we opened, as I mentioned, and our technology was rather siloed. We utilized information stack, the technology stack you see here. Video was treated as just another type of storage. Our virtual machines and our VDI atmosphere was just another solution. Security was interlaced throughout, but it was kind of like a tent put over the whole thing, right? So we basically had 3 different silos working, and it worked well together. But as we grow, as our mission increases, you'll see that we needed a different solution. We needed to mature into another solution. Technology evolves at breakneck speed. You certainly don't need me to tell you that. Cameras are faster, files are bigger, resolution is greater. Greater resolution means more data we have to store. We need to be able to access that data quicker. We've got more customers, if you will, more agencies who are depending on us to do our jobs. Cybersecurity expectations. The city was a victim of a cybersecurity attack, or a cyber attack in 2019. Our customers were expecting us to do more with less, to be faster at our jobs. So we evolved. So planning for a major special event starts 18 to 24 months out, if not longer. And you can plan for, as I did on the police department for almost a decade, you can plan for special events. You can plan for the events, the parties. You can even plan for certain contingencies that are pretty routine and pretty well expected. Crowds are going to gather here. Crowds are going to gather there. As I mentioned earlier, we're no stranger to special events. We know how to do those. And I would submit to you that we do them better than most in the city of New Orleans. But you have to also plan for the contingencies that you don't know about. So in comes the beginning of the year in 2025. What we didn't anticipate was just after 3 a.m. on New Year's Day that we were going to be the victim of a vehicle-borne terrorist attack on world-famous Bourbon Street. 14 people lost their lives that morning. In just a few hours, we were going to host the Sugar Bowl right there in the Superdome. That had to be rescheduled, obviously, because the threat picture changed. We had to first make sure that it was it ended up being a lone wolf attack. We had to make sure that it was in fact a lone wolf attack and there weren't other subsequent attacks being planned. The event was pushed back a day. That game we talked about, the Super Bowl, was coming around the first week of February. But before that, the city of New Orleans had to contend with the first blizzard warning issued by the National Weather Service for southeast Louisiana. We had 12 inches of snow in a very short amount of time. Now, to give you some context, that there are folks from the north here, in the previous 100 years before 2025, New Orleans did not receive 12 inches combined over that 100 years. And at no point in time did we ever get more than 2.5 inches at any one snow. So having 12 inches of snowfall in a coastal city or a coastal state was something we weren't prepared for. But Mother Nature helped us out, and just a few days after it snowed, most of the snow melted. We found snow plows in southeast Louisiana, if you could imagine, and we got the streets cleared in enough time to host the game. You had no idea that week that there was ever any snowfall there. We needed higher operational visibility, faster video retrieval, faster VDI deployment to support that big game. How do you scale for the unknown? That's one of the hardest questions in public safety, but public safety technology specifically. You can plan for the event, but that unexpected event within the event is where it comes. And your technology has to be right-sized for that. The solution must absorb that peak demand without slowing you down. Our customers, our staff, have to be able to know that the technology that they're using is going to perform in those pressure type situations. This is our Crime Center 2.0 technology stack, and I'll go through each one of those individually. But our goal here in this modernization efforts was to strengthen the platform, storage, servers, networking infrastructure, with cybersecurity built in for 2025 and beyond, and not 2017. We needed to make sure that we reduced the friction in the hardware. Because as I said earlier, this has to perform when seconds count and when moments matter. We'll start with our storage and server infrastructure. Prior to 2025, the network and all of our network traffic was managed by the City of New Orleans IT department. Just like they managed for any particular park or recreation facility or office building. The needs that we had for video were not like the needs of somebody running a library or a recreation center, or even the tax office, right? Our video needs were very specific, and they would make changes in our environment, innocuous changes that would have some downline implications on our environment. So we took all of that networking in-house to our in-house IT staff, and we now manage, along with our partners, all the network infrastructure at the Real-Time Crime Center. Our servers. The Gen 11 servers support virtualization in the VDI side of our mission. We have to be able to deploy these user environments more consistently, more securely within that environment. The GPU-enabled capacity in these environments better support the visual workloads that come with our operations. Our operators and our investigators need to be able to access the systems faster when they need it. Our IT and security teams had better control, more standardization, and more manageable environment. The HPE B10K provides our block storage for the virtualized environment. When you think about public safety technology, especially video, the video repository gets a lot of attention. But the applications surrounding that video are just as important. The B10K gives us Gen 5 storage platform, can support our resiliency from a modern public safety environment. It helps our operational systems around the video platform to keep pace with the mission. Now to our video repository. The Alletra Storage allows us a petabyte scalable video repository. It's important not only from your video storage, its capacity, but it's accessing it and how fast can you access the video that you need now. We maintain video, unarchived video, for 30 days on this storage platform. We need to get to that video, the right video at the right time. Capacity is only one part of the equation. We're better positioned to handle our video workloads and future growth without forcing the mission back into an infrastructure limitations like we had before. The mission always evolves. What we were doing in 2017 is not what we're doing in 2025. Our storage has evolved. Our servers have evolved. Security became embedded in all of the pieces and the whole, as opposed to being that tent, like I mentioned earlier, above everything. And we needed to reduce the friction amongst those infrastructure parts. The technology matters because the mission matters. The public safety teams are under pressure. They should not have to think about whether or not the infrastructure can withstand the pressure. What they're doing is tough. The infrastructure has to be tougher. So the solution today is rapidly scalable, it's battle proven, and it's ready for the next on-demand event, be that a planned event or an unplanned event. So in closing, I'd like to thank you all for being here. I'd like to thank HPE and our local partners at Avexon for helping us to design, implement, and maintain that infrastructure we talked about. I'll be available here just a little bit if you have any questions. Thank you.